Okay, we got this old Evinrude that I'm working on, and put a new impeller in it. And now, even though I had to put a new impeller, just back up. To put a new impeller on this, you have to remove the power head. So you got to remove basically your shifting. So, hey, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Yeah, we loosened up our linkage here, and there's 2 bolts, and it's, anyway, that comes apart. So when you pull the engine up, but you're gonna have to get this out of the grommet. So you're gonna pull up, and it's just like a little, I don't know what you would really want to call it, but usually like get a little screwdriver or something, but it'll pop out of there. And we can leave everything else on it when we pull this out. But underneath here, underneath the power head, all right, so there's a bunch of screws under the power head, and that's how the power head removes. So when you do the lower unit, like you put a new impeller or a new water pump housing in this lower unit, then you have to take the power head off in order to disconnect the shift shaft. It's just the way they did them in that time period. They changed, in the 60s. They changed really throughout 60s, 70s. The more in the 60s, 70s, it had a little bitty access, and you would go in, take that off with usually two screws, and then there's a 3/8 inch little bolt, and you take the bottom one out of that, and your lower unit will just drop right out. But this guy, not so much. Right. I'm just like, I think there's 7 screws total. We could take some of them out. All right, so the majority of these screws I'm just going to take out with it up in the air like this. Right, there's one that's up front. Where's that at? Just so I can maybe point to it. It's like right in here. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's one here and there's one on the other side. That's the one that's up front. So I'll like to take out maybe this one first. It's just a flathead. So you want to try to basically make sure that this fits in this head real good. Like this one fits better than this one. And then all you have to do is use your little, box wrench or whatever you want to call it. Because right now I can't think of what I'm talking about. But, we're just going to do this. Let our wrench kind of be our guide here. So, but I want to take these little bottom ones out first because they're the harder ones. And then, you don't have to worry about it trying to struggle with getting one of those out when all the other ones are loose, kind of deal. I'm trying to do this where you guys can kind of see. I know you can't, but at least I'm not all in the way. So I got it started. Now I just need to back it out. And there it comes. And I want to keep track of all these screws. And then when I put it back, I want to put some blue Loctite. So the story on this motor is this was a guy's grandpa's. I guess one of his kids got it willed to him. And he had a boat that this goes on. And so, he's just wants to know that it's good and it's a sentimental value kind of thing. But it runs. The dual tank actually works. kudos to whoever put this, you know, motor up and took care of it, because they did a good thing. They ran it out of fuel. Yeah, they ran it out of fuel, so the fuel bowl literally had no sediment. They must have had to have cleaned it too. I don't know. But definitely they did a good job. And when we go to put this back, it won't matter with the shift, but we do want to take, you know, take our screws out, take our time. I think we got, that's 4, so we got 3 left in the back here. And these are the ones that you can get to, so you can put this down where then you don't need a second person to hold that power head. It's easier if you have a second person, because then they can just hold the power head. If you got 2 guys, it's a little easier because you don't have to stoop down. See, I'm old. I don't want to stoop down anymore. And that's that. You're just going to bend down here and take her out. Now, this is so old, I'm not going to use it. I could use like an impact gun, but I'm not going to do that. You got the chance of like, if your head wobbles on an impact gun, then it's going to really kind of mess up this guy. Now this is like aluminum. It's got to be an aluminum bolt on an aluminum head. It's some kind of anodized, because it's got a color to it if you really looked at it. But like I said, I would probably do some blue Loctite once we really seal it, because then we know these aren't going to back out or loosen up when it heats up. And now you got a bunch of little screws here. You don't have to take those out. Just make sure you're on the head of the little screw or whatever. Am I going the right way? That'd be tightened. Since I'm looking upside down, it sometimes throws me. I'm like, what? You know, I don't know if some people are like that or some people aren't. I've had some people commenting about that, like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. You know, I'm like, yeah, it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The whole world is that. But when you're looking upside down, or something to that effect, it's really hard to I mean, you can think about it, but it's like, oh, okay. All right, so next I got 2 fuel lines, and one of these fuel lines was already like rotted, and it just broke off. So we still have the little connector, and I'm gonna get, I actually need one of these, but I'm gonna go, I've got a pair of needle nose pliers, and I'm gonna cut notches in them just so I have something to do these older motors with this kind of connector. I could change this type of connector, and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about, because we need to address that at some point. All right, so what I'm talking about, I'll try to hold this still, but this connector, and if you kind of look at it and really inspect it, you figure out that this is just a metal piece that's crimped. Maybe I'll be able to use that again. I don't know if I'll have to get some more modern day clamps. Either way, to remove the power head, we need to cut the 2 lines that are going. The carburetor, one is an air return line. Yeah, so if we look at this connector, this is, one of these is going to be your fuel, and one is going to be your air. So we can see that this bottom one goes to the carburetor inlet side of the carburetor, so we know that this is our fuel. This should be our air, and that's going to come from this very front of the intake, which, of course, underneath there we have reed valves and all that, but this is what we need to address. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those lines. Alright, well now I got the fuel lines disconnected, should be able to just rock it, pop it right off. There's your power head. We're gonna go set this inside somewhere safe. Okay, so on top of here, we're gonna have this little guy right here. It's kind of got this, I don't know. You can definitely tell that it's some sort of sealer. And then we're gonna have like this little piece, this little plastic piece. So that's underneath there, and then we got a spring, and then down here there's just a little keeper. But so that what we need to do is right here is we're going to replace this little. I mean, this thing is hard as a rock. Look, it just crumbled. So we always replace those O-rings because they're just going to be shot. So do that, and then on your surface here, we might just take like some emery cloth or something. It doesn't matter. Plus, I'm going to have to do something with this, and the problem with this is they did it for a certain size fuel line that we no longer have. So if you wanted to remove the lower unit, what you do here is you take this nut off. There's two nuts, and then that lowers the shift shaft. To take this connector off, there's just a bolt under here. I think the first thing is to see if I can find some fuel line. So we'll have to get this old gasket off of here. I'll get that all off, clean up that, and then, there's our... Yeah, that's what we got to do. Okay, I just got this up on my bench and was getting the gasket off. So I wanted to say just put a piece of some kind of, say, rag or whatever down in the intake so that doesn't fall all inside. And then I have a razor blade and just go around. You don't want to take any slices of aluminum off. So just take your time. It takes a while to do. And then when you're done, just kind of scratch like this. But anyway, you don't want to take any of that off. We want that to be kind of as flat as can be. I could take some sandpaper and board, but I'm going to just, I got an air tool. I'm going to just hit this real quick. Yeah, I got this little guy and fire up my air compressor, which is loud. And then I got a little straight edge. It's super straight. We'll just check it out, see if we have any kind of like high spots. Look at that. See, so don't be afraid to use a die grinder. Like I got this, and it's literally like there might be a couple of small spaces, but they're like really, we're talking thousandths of an inch. So when we put that gasket on there with that red tacky that I got, wherever it is, so this Permatex spray a gasket sealant. We'll see how thick it is. I may not even need this, but that's a high heat. My experience is a lot of times if they don't call for it there, don't use it. I don't know. What is this? I don't know. OMC 304. 304, 314, yeah. I don't know if you can see it, but 304, 314. Alright, just so you guys can see it, I think we'll just do some red and tacky on the bottom so it won't move. We want to be real careful so when we put this on here that we don't damage the gasket. But the gasket kind of doesn't need to move. So we don't want it to move. So I think do red and tacky and let it just get just as hard as it's going to get. Or do we just go ahead and try to put the engine on there? I don't know. Let me think about it. I think I'm just going to put the engine on there. I'm not going to put any kind of sealant. I don't think it needs it. Looks like you would think that, okay, there's two sides to this. No. Man, it has to go like this. So maybe put this in here like so. Okay, so what I decided to do is just put this gasket, lay it in here like so. And I'm going to put my other O-ring that we're talking about, maybe put just a little bit of some marine grease, either 2,4-C or something like that right here on this our drive shaft. And then we're just going to take that power head and we're going to set it right here. First thing I'll do is clean this up. I do notice that it's pretty dirty. And we're going to have to get these fuel lines in before I do that, just so I can have this already ran and ready to go, because fishing it back through this way once we put the power head on is going to be hard to do. So what we're dealing with now is we have two fuel lines that were bad. Here's a piece of one. We can see that its dimension was, I don't know, it's about that size, I guess. We've got some other ones laying up here. So these are the ones that we took off. And you can see one looks about the same. I thought when I took this off that they both looked, different. I thought this one on the right was a little bit smaller. But whenever I look at them now, I'm pretty sure they're the same size. And the reason I say that is if we look at this, our diameter of our hole was pretty small. I don't even know if I could even get, say, one of these little measuring tools to even measure it. So we're on inch settings, and, so it'd be like this thing pulls apart. Let's just even see if I can possibly get a reading. 0.09 inches. I don't know what that will equate to. 0.09 inches. So maybe that's, I don't know. But this thing is prime line. Okay, so here's just some prime line that I bought at Advance Auto. And this is good for, small engines. And it's gasoline fuel tubing. The only thing that I would say about this stuff is you don't want any lines to crush. So any corners that you make or anything like that, you just want to be careful that you have enough line where it's not getting pinched, like it's, you can see how bad this is cracking, but would get pinched off so that you wouldn't get fuel flow. And then what you want to do is you want to get, this is an assortment of Dorman. It's just some universal hose clamps. And it's got different sizes that are basically the same size as what is in the assortment pack that you get for Prime Line. And so we'll be using this, and we're going to match it up with some clips. Why are we doing this? Because on this old style, we have these clips. And of course, we could try to use those, but these are going to be different diameter than this hose. This whole thing, it really is kind of a trick, because if you can find this tubing, great. I have not found it, and we could reuse these old hose clamps. The reason that you want to go to a different style fuel line that's this prime line is that if you try to find any sort of fuel hose that you can buy that's more of the, say, the rubber fuel line, braided, whatever, it is it's always a little thicker than the diameter of the holes that's in the cowling that you have to feed this through. So you got to feed this line through the cowling. And anyway, I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this is one of the earliest that I've seen this, but a lot of it is all the same design. Here are the two. Obviously, you can tell I got the cowl kind of sitting upright, but, and this is where, you know, where our power head to go. But we got two holes right here, this one and this one, and it feeds up, and then that little fuel connection is right here. So the fuel connection sits right here on top. It goes up, goes to the carburetor and to the intake where, you know, it's pumping air down to our tank and forcing the fuel up to our carburetor. It's kind of funny. I always think about these videos, and then whenever I'm doing them, it's like they're not really going the way they went in my head. But yeah, I can try and, you know, measure this just so you can get an idea, or I can get an idea. But I mean, that's less than half an inch. So when you buy the fuel line that is whatever, 0.9, if we get out our phone, try to convert that to a fraction. How do we convert that to a fraction? I don't know. So here we are getting on the internet. 1/64th. 0.04 is 3/64. This is probably a chart like you could print out. Mostly just like stick the hose in there and see if it fits. So 0.0909. 3/32 fill line. So I just got a chart. You can't see it. I need to print this out and maybe like make a deal. But anyway, if I go down, you know, it says load calculator. If I find that 0.0938 is 3/32. 3/32 or 6/64, but 3/32 is going to be very common. So that's what we're going to look for in that dormant pack. And then I'm ready to put this on. Basically, I got to clean this back up yet a little bit. Just, you know, take a rag and kind of clean that out. And then I'm ready to like put this back together. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Because that will frustrate us trying to get fuel line. Like I said, that prime line, you just want to make sure you're not kinking it. One other thing I wanted you guys to know is when we do get that 3/32 line up here, we're going to go ahead and put those lines on this. Because when you put the power head down onto the midsection, you know, lower unit and everything, this is kind of hard to get your hands up in here to put the line on. So I'm going to go ahead and put my line on, and I'm going to feed it through. So I have a lot of excessive line, but it makes it easier, like, in the long run. All right, so I don't know what I'm doing. You know, trying to explain this, it didn't really go the way I wanted it to, but essentially, you know, this is 1/8 fuel line. It goes over the connection just fine. And it's going to be the same on both sides, I believe. We're not going to have a smaller line than the other. It's going to be the same. This actually fits something like right in here. If we measure the outside of the line, we get like 0.32 inches. So, which is out there, it's a lot bigger. So, you know, this will fit through that line just fine. You know, put it all the way up on there. Let's just make it simple. I think it's, no, it's not wanting to go all the way on. Come on now. I'm gonna get it. This one just doesn't want it. Let's pull it back off. Yeah, it's on there. My eyes, I can't see as good anymore. So yeah, pull it back out. Just kind of straighten it out. Obviously, we don't need this much. But I'm just gonna take a pair of scissors and cut it. So now it's cut. I can find my, in here, I believe there should be one in here. If not, I may have to get some more of these. It's like kind of like a right diameter, but I think I'm gonna have to get another one of these packages because they only put 2 in a package. So now she's on there. There's no vacuum, nothing. We can take a rag out. I just had that there just so nothing will fall. Sometimes I just put tape, like carpenter's tape, you can put across here if you're afraid anything is gonna fall through there. You know, just regular carpenter's tape works great for that. So, you know, you can see it will crush, so, you know, you just got to make sure you route it good. But otherwise, this works really well because getting the right diameter fuel line will or could drive you to madness, I'm telling you. No, it would drive you to madness. You would just be like, I don't understand. Make me understand, like Derek says. Make me understand. Make me understand this. Anyway, just replacing the fuel line on this old 1956 7.5 horsepower tiller from Evinrude. Alright, well, I got it back together. Got a little bucket with some water. Got the fuel over here. I've been where I'm liking the fuel more like a boat where it'd be a little higher up. So I just put it over here. And I pump this up, and I don't know if you can see it, but you can tell by your clear hose then that it's going into this carburetor. Okay, we got our handle in the right position now. So now that's fast. That'd be start. A lot of these old Evinrude Johnsons, there's 2 little bitty notches in the flywheel. That's kind of like where you start from. So I'm gonna choke again. Hope we got spark and all that stuff. We'll see. That's where we just did a little shot of that. And we started. Yeah, she's being good now. Right for a minute. Put a little shot at some B12 to just kind of get it started off. I don't know, these old motors are kind of a little temperamental. I would almost argue that like when you put that front carb piece on, so there's this little carb piece, it's held by a couple of screws. And it's really not a good location to spray anything through there. Yeah, we're cooling good just fine now. Right at 100 degrees. All right, I got this running pretty good, but I need to figure out where I'm at with this because I'm gonna have to take this off in order to put the front cover back on. It's so, anyway, 7/16 little box wrench. All right, I'm just gonna take a little, so I can do it like a reference point. And I'm going to try to figure out, it should be like, I think it's one turn. So let's go in. There's a half. There's one turn. Anyway, this slides off. I guess I'm a big dummy because, you know, this goes like this, and this goes in like so. So yeah, we'll go back out. There's a half. I'm gonna say that's one turn. Then we're gonna put our 2 screws in. Okay. There we go. All right, so there's that. So then I think we just need to put our cover back on and we're done. If I remember right, we got to snake this one on this side down past the shift. And I can't remember, did we take the shift lever off or we do something like this real gentle like? But it ain't working out. Maybe she wants me to be rough. It's getting closer. Come on now. Is that on there? Hey, we're on there. Don't you do anything crazy. Oh, okay, I see it went past our little deal there. It's gonna go sort of like so. 1956. Yeah, so just working on this 1956 7.5 horsepower by Evinrude. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just getting it done. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Hey, subscribe and like the videos. It helps. What happened to the screw? I don't know. I guess clean up all this crap. Maybe I'll find it. Did I drop it? I guess I'm gonna have to watch the camera footage so I can figure out if I dropped this thing. And if I did, where did it go?